Hey guys, so this is my first video that isn't like a box opening or like a haul video and that kind of thing since I started doing witchy videos. So I'm a little bit nervous, but one of the topics that I was going to talk about because of my haul videos was why I buy all the selenite. Which I freaking love selenite, because of this. But, okay, backstory a little bit, and I'm nervous to tell this because I've only told maybe like a few people. I think my roommate is kind of weirded out by it. My friend Jamie that I've talked about in videos, who is a Wiccan, he's kind of scared by it. Most people haven't believed me, and then my sister, she didn't believe me until she had some proof. But and I don't know what the, like, I'm not pretending to know what any of this is or be some sort of expert. I'm just telling you what scared me enough to be like, I need to put up some defenses, basically. But when I was in high school, or just out of high school, I lived maybe 15 minutes away in this nearby town, and when I was driving around, I would see this guy, and like, okay, you know, small town, see the same guy walking around, no big deal, and he was always dressed, we're from Michigan, so he was always dressed in Michigan, like the University of Michigan jacket, and had his hood always pulled up to his face, and I noticed when we were driving by that he didn't seem to have a face. Like it was either way pulled up, and I just couldn't see it. And of course, I was driving by. I mean, like the first time I saw him was at night, I'm sure. This and that. But something about that gave me the willies, really, really bad. The second time I saw him, same deal. And I saw him multiple times. He always the same jacket, always pulled up, never saw his face, never even like a hint that there was a face under there. It was so deep in, and he always like turned his body, like if my car was going by, his body turned to go by with it. So it was like, he was always, I mean, maybe he did that with every single car. Maybe it was just a normal guy. I don't know, but it scared me. And I told my sister about it, and I don't think she didn't believe me. And then one day we were driving together. I said, Amber, oh my God, that's him. That's the faceless guy. Okay, so we drive past him, and Amber literally screamed, and she's like, oh my God, that's the scariest thing I've ever seen. He doesn't have a face. She's like, I believe you. I can't believe, and to this day we talk about him like he came up. He's came up before just the faceless guy or whatever. And I mean, just out of high school, so this was 18 years ago. And then like in that town I'd see him off and on. Well, fast forward a little, well, actually it's backtracking, I guess, but fast forward to when I remembered this. I had been talking to my now ex-husband about something when I was a kid. And these two things may not be related, but anyway, when I was a kid, my great aunt was in the hospital, and she was really sick, and she called our house at probably like 3 or 4 in the morning, and my grandma answered the phone. My grandma's name's Dorothy. She called her Dot, and I guess my aunt just screamed. She's like, Dot, he's coming to get me. Don't let him get me. Don't let him get me. And the phone hung up. So my grandma thought, oh my God, somebody's in her room, or oh my God, maybe a doctor came in, but she was asleep and it scared her. So my grandma called the hospital, and she said, my sister's, somebody's in her room. I don't know if it's an unwanted guest or if a doctor just scared her when she was waking up, but somebody's in my sister's room. She just called me. So the hospital put her on hold or whatever, and when they came back, they said, really sorry, but your sister passed away. So the last thing that she said to my grandma was, the man's trying to get me, don't let him get me. Now that's weird, but okay, it's what it is. Fast forward to the reason I told my ex-husband this. He and I were, we took care of my mom and my grandma. As my grandma got older, my mom was in like a wheelchair, and my grandma now has dementia. My mom, I don't really think it was dementia, but she wasn't, like my ex-husband thought she had, not bipolar, something else anyway, where she, schizophrenia. He thought maybe she was schizophrenic, but he, you know, without her or my grandma being willing to let her go to the doctor to get that actually checked out, we had no idea of actually knowing. Well, I went to take my grandma to town to do her shopping one day, and my ex-husband stayed with my mom, and she was like laying in her bed. She had a bed like in the living room because it was like a hospital bed, and she was staring off into the corner, like around the corner, I guess, and kind of talking to herself. So he said to her, what's it going on? Who are you talking to? You know, are you talking to me? And she's like, no, I'm not talking to you. She said, I'm talking to him. And my ex-husband was like, who are you talking to? And she's like, the man. Well, he didn't know my other story at the time, so he didn't connect anything, and he thought maybe she delusionally met my grandpa, who had passed away fairly recently. And he said, I don't see anybody. Who is it you're talking to? And she said, he won't want you to see him. You can't see him. I'm just talking to the man. And that's all she would say. But she kept whispering to the man. And he got kind of creeped out, like a little bit. He doesn't get creeped out that easy. I mean, so it wasn't that big of a deal to him, but he was still kind of weirded by it. So he told me about it later, and I kind of put that together with the story of my aunt. I was like, oh my God, that's weird, because my aunt said the man too when I was a kid. And a little bit later, my mom got sick. My mom passed away. Like, not like that day or anything, but I'm just saying, coming up, you know, in time, my mom passed away. And now my grandma is in a home because her dementia got worse. It was like sort of just the beginning stages back then. Now it's like full-blown dementia. And David and I went to go visit her because obviously I'm still going to go visit my grandma. And she started, you know, I mean, if you've ever been around dementia patients, like, you know, they live a lot in their past or like just in kind of like their own world. They talk to themselves. They talk to people that aren't there. My grandma was also talking to like a shadow in the corner of the room kind of deal. And I was like, we were kind of like teasing her a little bit because she used to say like, oh, I'm talking to the puppy. I have a puppy. And obviously there was no puppy. But, so I said like, oh, are you talking to the puppy, Grandma? And she's like, no, I'm talking to the man. And I was like, the man? What man? And she's like, he's over there in the corner and he's whispering to me. And she's like, I don't like it. And I kind of looked, and she's like, get him to go away. So I was like, I don't see a man, Grandma. And she's like, well, he's there, and he watches me at night. So that's the only story of the man that I have, but it's sort of been like 3 different times, and always towards like the end of the person's time. My grandma's not gone yet, but she's not well, and We'll fast forward to about a month ago, and I had went to go see David on his lunch. I go and see him and bring him lunch on his lunch break every day that he works. And when I was leaving his work, there was a guy in a pretty familiar University of Michigan jacket with a hood drawn up around his face, so it looked like he had no face. That scared the living shit out of me. I'm just saying, I don't know, it's just a feeling of the guy. Like, at first I was kind of like, oh, that's so weird, and then his body followed as I made the turn in my car. I got home, I freaked out. I lit some protection incense. I prayed to Anubis for protection. I had gathered all the selenite that I had, and I have been steady buying it ever since. I cleansed my house recently, even though, like, I don't feel like it's like a spirit per se. I don't know what it is. It could just be a coincidental weird guy on the street, but it is enough to scare me, and it's enough that I don't want to feel like I haven't done what I can to protect myself and my home and my loved ones. We have 3 dogs, and David and I live here, and my roommate, my best friend, lives here. So I just don't want anything to happen that I feel that I could have helped guard against. That being said, if you have any thoughts or opinions of what it could be, hopefully you don't just think I'm crazy. I think I'm a little crazy. But like I said, I mean, I'm fully willing to admit that it could just be really coincidental. It could be a weird story as far as, like, the man and my family goes. It doesn't even mean, like, if there was something going on with the man, or if there is something to the faceless guy, that the two may not be the same being. But I don't know what to make of it. I've had weird stuff happen. My grandparents' farm that I lived on, I feel, was sort of like a spiritual, like, crossroads. It never felt, when I was a kid, that we had, like, the same beings hanging around, but I've had some weird stories. Would not mind sharing a few of those ghost stories with you guys one day if you want. But nothing's ever, like, creeped me out like this. Like, maybe one thing, because I was really little, gave me, like, the heebie-jeebies, but nothing like this faceless guy. And, like, maybe I'm just letting it get to me. I don't know. But it's kind of weird to me. So recently then, after I, did what I could, like, I have a little mini selenite tower that actually you probably saw in one of my unboxings. I stuck that next to my bedside, and I put up all the selenite rods that I had that night. The next day I anointed the doors again with patchouli oil and said my prayers for protection. And what I like to do, because you can't get selenite wet, so you can't, like, if I cleanse it either over, like, sage smoke or a cleansing candle, like the smoke or the heat from the flame even, I feel, does a good job. I had thought originally, like, maybe I could just dab it with oil, but I didn't want to do that and risk ruining it either. But then, once it's cleansed, and, like, all of mine has been cleansed with sage smoke, over all my doorways and over all the windows or in the middle of the windowsill, I will set it. And what I do, maybe you would do something different. When I set it there, I hold it there, and I just, like, envision my energy going through it and forming, like, a protective veil around whatever window or doorway that it's on. To me, that makes me feel like it's being protected. I had that issue with my knee, but I fully plan to go out and put some protection stones, like, not selenite, but maybe some better stones for outside, like in the corners of the house. I've made some black protection salt, which if you're interested in the recipe, I'd be happy to share that with you. But I'm going to sprinkle that around the property line. I don't know, it's possibly me overreacting to this situation, but at the same time, it really doesn't hurt to protect yourself, I feel. So anyway, that's my little story. Now you guys have officially found out how crazy I possibly am, and you have seen, if you're still with me this far, the first video that I have ever done that is not a haul or unboxing. If you have any comments, go ahead and leave them down below. If you have any suggestions as to what it could be or what I could do differently or anything, just drop a comment. If you like this video, please subscribe, please hit the thumbs up button for me, and I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for listening. Bye.